Hello friends. This is Phoenix What If. How are you all? So in this video, we will see what if Naruto got harem in the Bleach world. But before we start, if you want more amazing stuff like this, then be sure to subscribe to our channel and like this video. Also, if possible, share this video with your friends. Now without wasting any more time, let's begin the story. How would one describe Zaraki Kenpachi? A homicidal killer, a vicious cold-blooded monster, or someone who would not hesitate to destroy an entire army for his adopted daughter, Kusajishi Yachiru? He was mostly the latter of the three things. Sure, he enjoys fights more than Yachiru loves candy, but he was, contrary to popular belief, not a psycho who only wants to kill others. Ever since he first entered the Soul Society and killed the previous Taicho of the 11th Division of the Gote 13 and took his place as Taicho, rumors had spread that he was a demon, and therefore he was given many nicknames, striking fear into the hearts of every spirit he came across. Of all the nicknames, his favorite was the Demon of the Zaraki district, since he came from the most dangerous district of Rukongai. Currently, the spiky-haired, eye-patch-wearing Shinigami was walking over to his division, preparing on training his grunts into the ground. Although everyone in the 11th Division was deathly afraid of him, their loyalty to the massive Shinigami was without equal. His most loyal were his 3rd and 5th seat, Madarame Akaku and Ayasagawa Yumachika respectively. There was also his Fukutaicho and adopted daughter Yachiru, who would do anything for him. The 11th Division's loyalty to Kenpachi was such that each member would willingly go through hell and back for him, if he was ever in danger. Fortunately, he was hardly ever in danger, because there were few beings that could ever hope to defeat him in battle. On the way to his division, he encountered the beautiful Taicho of the 4th Division, Unohana Retsu. "Hi Retsu-chan." Kenpachi greeted the doctor. She was the only person he would ever use honorifics for. "Hello Kenpachi-kun. I have received word that Yamamoto Sotecho has called a Taicho's meeting, and he wants everyone there," Unohana told him. "Can't I skip this? I have to train those slackers in the 11th, Kenpachi told her. "Well, when this is over, after training the members of your squad, maybe I can give you a massage to help you feel better," Unohana offered. Kenpachi blushed before hastily agreeing. He was given many nicknames, but the one he liked more than the Demon of the Zaraki district was being called the husband of Unohana Retsu. Needless to say, when they got married, everyone in Soul Society was beyond shocked. Kenpachi still laughed when he remembered telling the other Taichos of their engagement. Flashback. Alright, now that everyone is here, we can begin the Taicho's meeting. First, is there anything that needs to be brought up? Asked Yamamoto. Kenpachi looked at Unohana and with an encouraging nod from her, he spoke up. "Yeah, I think there is something that you all need to know," Kenpachi told them. Everyone, save Unohana, was surprised. Kenpachi rarely brought something up unless it was of utmost importance. "Please continue Zaraki Taicho," Yamamoto told him. Kenpachi started scratching his head, for once he was nervous. "I can't believe that Retsu wants me to tell them," Kenpachi thought before telling them. "Well, better spit it out. Unohana and I are engaged." Kenpachi told the last part in a whisper so low that no one could hear him, except Komamura Sajin, who upon hearing it, gasped and fainted with a look of horror on his fox-like face. "I'm sorry Zaraki Taicho, but I'm afraid we didn't hear that," Yamamoto told him, while wondering what the hell was going on. "I said Unohana and I are engaged," Kenpachi said in another low tone. "Sigh. Again we didn't hear that," Yamamoto told him. He was losing his patience, and to see the great Zaraki Kenpachi like this meant that something was wrong. "For crying out loud, you old bastard, I said Unohana and I are engaged," Kenpachi shouted. The room was so silent that you could hear a pin needle drop. After a few minutes, Hitsugaya Toshiro finally regained his voice. What did you say?" he asked in a shaky voice. "Are you deaf, you midget? I said Unohana Retsu and I are getting married. Do I need to spell it out for you bastards?" shouted an obviously annoyed Zaraki Kenpachi. The reactions varied from Taicho to Taicho. Kyoraku Shunsui dropped his sake bottle and he would later throw the rest away thinking it was laced with something. Yukataki Jashiro gave a small smile to the couple, though he was wondering if this was a prank. Byakuya paled. Granted, he and Yachiru had an uncle-niece relationship, but she was dangerous since she had the habit of destroying part of the 6th Division compound. If Kenpachi had more kids, that would mean he would have even more damage to repair, when Kenpachi recruited him to babysit. Mayuri also paled, but was wearing makeup so no one could tell. He despised Kenpachi and Yachiru, mostly because Yachiru often broke into the most secure areas of the 12th Division and let some of the experiments out so she could play with them. Unfortunately, he had to put down a very interesting creature, because while Yachiru was playing fetch with it, it destroyed various experiments. More kids would mean more destruction, and Mayuri was most definitely not going to like that. Soi Fong's jaw dropped and her eyes were wide. Jin's smile dropped, and he opened his eyes in shock. Now for those wondering why Jin is in the Seirei, well, it's an interesting story. Apparently, before he, Aizen, and Tosen left for Hueco Mundo, Jin had been acting as a spy for Yamamoto. Ever since he first entered the 5th Division, and killed the 3rd seat, who was planning on aiding Aizen in his betrayal, he had been secretly reporting to Yamamoto all of Aizen's activities. The reason Yamamoto never stopped Aizen was because he wanted to destroy the Hogyoku without possibly killing Rukia. He also wanted to destroy the Espada, so they would never be a threat to Soul Society. Jin was actually very instrumental in the Shinigami's victory in the Winter War. While Aizen was too distracted fighting the other Shinigami, Jin betrayed him and dealt a fatal blow to the former Shinigami. Jin also helped Orihime destroy the Hogyoku. After the war, Yamamoto explained everything about Jin to the other Shinigami and he was pardoned of all crimes. Hitsugaya was starting to think he became sick and is imagining things. Yamamoto had to refrain from gaping like an idiot, instead he chose to widen his eyes. "Wheel, since some of us need to recover from this news, why don't we start the meeting again in a few hours?" Yamamoto suggested, knowing no one would be able to focus on the meeting. "Huh, they took it better than I thought they would," Kenpachi told Unohana while chuckling as they were leaving. "So Retsu, you want to go spar?" asked Kenpachi. Unohana got a smile, and to anyone who noticed, it held a bit of mischief. I believe that I have plenty of time. Your place?" Unohana asked. "Sure," Kenpachi answered. End flashback. After that, word spread about the engagement, and Yachiru was ecstatic. However, everyone else felt the world would be coming to an end. The members of the 11th Division were so scared about the marriage they fainted on the spot. It had been 3 years since the announcement, and they were happily married. However, Kenpachi was still the sadist that everyone knew him as. But enough of that. What does the old geezer want now? Kenpachi asked his wife as they were hurriedly running to where the Taicho's meeting would take place. "I don't know, but he said it was urgent news. I think he mentioned something about a kitsune though," Unohana told him. 20 minutes later, they arrived at the meeting hall, and the other Taichos were already there. When they arrived, all chatter stopped, and they took their respected places. "Now that you are all here, I have urgent news. Apparently, a massive amount of souls are appearing in a place called the Elemental Nations, and this is attracting a lot of hollows. From the reports I have gathered, a creature is killing countless Ryoka. I want to send Zaraki Taicho, Kuchiki Taicho, and Hitsugaya Taicho to send these souls to Soul Society, and if any hollows interfere, which no doubt they will, destroy them." Dismissed, and with that, the selected Taichos hurried to the closest Senkaimon that would lead to the Elemental Nations. Elemental Nations. The 3 Taichos went through the Senkaimon gate, and what they saw made both Kuchiki and Hitsugaya deathly afraid, because before them stood the Kyuubi no Kitsune in all its glory. They looked around and saw countless ninja get struck down in mere seconds. Souls were constantly appearing, and as a side effect, many hollows started to appear. Normally a hollow would try and stay away from the Elemental Nations, because they were terrified of the forces of nature known as the Biju. Even a Vasto Lord would be reluctant to face the wrath of a Biju. However, this time, the number of souls appearing was too much for any hollow to resist. Kenpachi looked on with a predatory gleam in his one eye. Anyone who saw that look would immediately know that he wanted to fight the Kyuubi. "All right, Zaraki Taicho, you take the north side, and Kuchiki Taicho you take the west. I'll take on the east side," Hitsugaya ordered. As they were running to their respective spots, Kenpachi and Byakuya were both wondering the same thing. Who put that runt in charge? As Kenpachi was running north, he saw a hospital in the distance. Since that was where a lot of souls could be, he reluctantly headed there. When he entered, doctors were running around like crazy. Deciding to ignore them, he went to the many rooms, and sent many souls to the Soul Society. Finally he reached another room, and in there he saw a beautiful red-haired woman in a hospital bed, and in front of her was a blonde-haired, blue-eyed man in his early 20s. The man was holding what looked like a miniature version of himself, apparently a newborn baby boy. Minato-kun. Why you can't do this? The villagers will treat him like a monster. Why can't you have Sarutobi-san or Jiraiya-san do this so you can protect our son? The woman yelled with tears in her eyes. The machine that showed her heart rate was beeping far too quickly. The woman would die very soon. I'm sorry Kushina-chan, but this has to be done for the good of the village, and besides, the villagers will see him as a hero. You need to have more faith in them. The man, now known as Minato, replied. The woman, Kushina, was quickly losing her life. Apparently she had complications giving birth to her son. Minato, you have to reconsider. They will try to kill him if you seal the Kyuubi into him. Kushina tried to tell him. Unfortunately Minato was too stubborn, and he held too much faith in the villagers. Forgive me Kushina-chan, but this has to be done. I'm sorry, and I will always love you. And with that, Minato disappeared in a yellow flash. More tears fell from Kushina's eyes, before she finally lost her fight against death. Throughout the conversation, Kenpachi was listening. He couldn't help but feel that something was familiar about the person known as Kushina. So this guy is going to seal the Kyuubi into his own son. That is some pretty crazy shit, thought Kenpachi. Suddenly, above the dead body of the woman appeared her spirit. She was still crying, until Kenpachi brought her attention to him. Come on lady, I need to send you away. If you don't resist or anything, then I can continue my job, Kenpachi told her. When Kushina looked up at him, she was shocked. The man was easily the tallest person she has ever seen. He had an eye patch over his right eye, and his hair was spiked up. What really confused her though, were the bells on the tips of his hair. Who are you? She questioned fearfully. Sigh. That's unimportant, but do you intend to talk all day, or can I go ahead and send you to the afterlife? And without waiting for an answer, he immediately performed a kanso on her before she could react. When she disappeared, he turned his attention to the Kyuubi, and to his surprise, he could see its soul ripped out of its body, by some creepy spirit. The spirit had white hair, purple skin, very pointy teeth, and it had a knife in its mouth. Deciding to ignore the spirit, he continued to send as many souls as he could to Soul Society. A couple of hours later, the three Taichos met up again, and they were wondering what happened to the fox. Alright, I believe we're done, but what happened to the kitsune? Asked a curious Byakuya. He was sporting a scratch on his cheek from one of the hollows he destroyed. I know what happened, but let's get back to Soul Society so I can tell the other Taichos, Kenpachi told them. Well, let's go. The sooner we leave and submit our report to Yamamoto Soteicho, the sooner we can get on with our lives, Hitsugaya told them. They nodded, and opened a Senkaimon. When they went through it, they immediately ran to where the Taicho's meetings were. When they got there, Yamamoto told them to speak of what happened. Well, apparently the creature that was killing so many Ryoka was the Kyuubi no Kitsune. And from what I overheard, some guy sealed the Kyuubi's spirit inside of a newborn boy. Kenpachi told them everything he heard, and when he was finished, Yamamoto's eyes were wide. I see. Was all he said. Has something like this happened before Yamamoto-sama? Yukitake asked, since Yamamoto was obviously thinking about something. Unfortunately, yes. You see, in the elemental nations, there are 9 creatures of extraordinary power. Kami-sama created them in order to help create balance in the world. Kami-sama sends them to destroy corrupt civilizations that think they are all-powerful. These creatures are known as the Biju, and they are forces of nature created by Kami-sama, and only Kami-sama can destroy them. Now over time people learned to seal the Biju into objects, and later to seal them into people. Apparently, when a Biju is sealed in someone, said person obtains some sort of physical appearance similar to the Biju itself. A side effect of sealing a Biju into someone is that the Ryoka population will almost always consider the person a demon, and they are normally shunned from society. Yamamoto explained. Yeah, I heard the mother of the kid, who the Kyuubi is sealed in, mention that the village will treat him as a monster and an outcast. Unfortunately, her husband said that the village will treat him as a hero. I noticed that there was a monument, with the faces of some people carved in, and the guy who sealed Kyuubi had his face carved in it. Odds are, is that the carvings are of important people, and if my guess is right, the people will only hate the kid more, because they will believe he killed one of them. Kenpachi told them. Some of the Taichos were surprised that Kenpachi made such an observation, but they decided not to show their surprise, lest they invoke the wrath of Zaraki Kenpachi. Excellent observation, Zaraki Taicho. Now, I believe it is time for everyone to head out to their divisions. It has been a tiring day after all. Yamamoto told everyone. Hold on. Before any of you leave, there is one more thing that you need to know, Kenpachi told them. Everyone looked back at him, and he continued. That blonde guy who sealed away Kyuubi had some spirit working with him. The spirit had white hair, purple skin, pointy teeth, and it had a knife in its mouth. Do any of you know what that thing is? Asked Kenpachi. No one answered except Yamamoto. Yes, I believe that was the Taicho of the Zero Division. This shocked most of the Taichos. They knew there was a Zero Division, but none of them except Yamamoto had seen the Taicho of the division, and based on Kenpachi's description of him, no one wanted to see him. So, that was the Taicho of the Zero Division, huh? Asked Kenpachi. Yamamoto nodded before answering, yes, while the Zero Division is meant to protect the royal family, Kami-sama chose the current Taicho of the Zero Division. You see, while the Zero Division is meant to protect the royal family, select few Ryoka can summon the Taicho, who has a very unique role. When a Ryoka summons the Taicho, they can use him to take the souls out of people, or in Kyuubi's case, seal it into a human body. The reason he is allowed to steal souls is because, if he were to steal the soul of a very evil individual, said soul will never become a hollow or shinigami, because the Taicho will eat the soul, and prevent them from becoming a potential threat. Unfortunately, the Taicho will also eat the soul of whoever summoned him, he explained. The other Taichos looked appalled that something like this was allowed, but said nothing about it. So with the Kyuubi sealed within the boy, when he dies, the Kyuubi will die. Also, will the Taicho of the Zero Division eat both of their souls? Asked the ever-stoic Kuchiki Byakuya. No, like I said, Kami-sama created them, so when the boy dies, the soul of Kyuubi will be released and it shall again take on a physical form. As for the boy, it all depends on what he will become. If he remains a kind-hearted individual, then he will come here, but if he is evil, then the Taicho of the Zero Division will eat his soul. Yamamoto explained. Now, I believe that we should go back to our divisions, and get some rest. They nodded and headed back to their respective divisions, when they suddenly realized something. The Kyuubi incident would create a lot of paperwork. Most of the Taichos started cursing under their breath. The only ones not cursing were the ones that knew they could pawn it off on someone else. Everyone left, except for Kenpachi, who stayed behind in order to talk to Yamamoto. Is there something on your mind, Zaraki Taicho? Yamamoto asked curiously. Yeah. You said that people who have a biju sealed in them is often shunned from society. If that is the case, shouldn't someone watch over the gaki? Kenpachi asked. We can't. I wish I could send someone to watch over him, but we need as many of our men here as possible. Ever since the winter war with Aizen, our numbers have drastically decreased. Besides, not all villages shun their jinchuriki. That is what the people with biju sealed in them are called. Some villages, like the one known as Kumogakure no Sato, have their own jinchuriki, and she is treated like a hero. Although the chances of being respected are very slim for a jinchuriki, all we can do is hope that the village known as Konohagakure no Sato treats theirs as a hero, Yamamoto explained. Alright. Well, I better get those grunts to start working. See ya later, old man. Kenpachi said as he left. Wait a second. Retsu-chan owes me a massage. Maybe I can get Kuchiki to watch over Yachiru for a while. And so Kenpachi left the Sotecho, and was thinking of a way to get Byakuya to watch over Yachiru for the rest of the day. 1 year later, AN. Don't worry, there will only be a couple of these in this chapter. It had been 1 year since the Kyuubi incident, and things had been going very well. There were many more Shinigami in the Gotei 13, and many of them were improving at a fast rate. Jin also finally got the nerve to ask Rangaku out on a date, and she said yes. Surprisingly, it worked very well, and they have been dating ever since. Unfortunately, some guys were still looking at her when she was dating Jin. but Jin decided to introduce those guys to his fist. Of course, they weren't the only ones who started dating. Hitsugaya and Momo started dating as well, although Hitsugaya still could not convince Momo to stop calling him Shiro-chan. Renji and Rukia were dating as well, although there was an interesting story about that. Apparently, there was rumor that Rukia was dating the substitute Shinigami Kurosaki Ichigo. And when Byakuya heard the rumor, he went to the human world and threatened to kill Ichigo in the most painful way imaginable, and remove all traces of his existence, if he hurt Rukia. A confused Ichigo confessed that he was actually dating his friend Orihime. Byakuya took this the wrong way, believing Ichigo was dating both. If Rukia hadn't showed up when she did, Ichigo would have been killed by her furious older brother. When Rukia told him that she was dating Byakuya's Fukutaicho Aburai Renji, her childhood friend, Byakuya practically insulted Ichigo by saying it was perfectly acceptable. He claimed that he trusts Renji more than Ichigo, and that Renji is strong and loyal and would never harm Rukia intentionally. But enough of this. It was currently a rather beautiful day, and many people were thankful that Kenpachi wasn't in the mood to send them to the 4th Division. Unfortunately, all good things must come to an end, as one of the gates leading to the Seirei was opened by one of the new gate guardians. When it was opened all the way, a familiar red-haired woman appeared, and she looked pissed. "Minato, you bastard! Where the hell are you?" yelled a very angry Uzumaki Kushina. Some of the smarter people in the Seirei were smart enough to back away from the furious woman. Some of her yelling caught the attention of Yamamoto, who just so happened to be walking near her location. "Excuse me, but can I help you?" asked Yamamoto, hoping to calm her down. Kushina turned to him, and even Yamamoto started to feel afraid when he saw the fury in her eyes. "Where is that bastard Namikaze Minato? I know he's here somewhere, so where is he?" she yelled. "I'm sorry, miss, but there is no one in the Seirei with that name. Apparently, his soul had been eaten over a year ago," Yamamoto told her, hoping to calm her down. It looked like it worked when she started to calm down, if only a little. "So he's not here? Damn. I came all this way to kick his ass, and he goes and gets eaten," Kushina said. Yamamoto allowed a small smile, knowing he calmed this woman down for now. "Please come to my office, miss, and hopefully I can tell you everything you want to know," Yamamoto told her. She agreed, and followed him to his office in the 1st Division compound. When they got there, he gestured her to a seat, and she complied. "Why don't we introduce ourselves? My name is Genryusai Yamamoto Shigekuni, and I am the Soteicho of the Gote 13. He introduced himself. "My name is Uzumaki Kushina. It was Namikaze Uzumaki Kushina, but I removed the Namikaze out of anger for my husband," Kushina replied. "I understand that you must feel very angry with him when he fought the Kyuubi," Yamamoto told her. "Yes, I am angry with him. He could have had someone else seal the Kyuubi away, but he did it himself, making our son an orphan. By the way, you mentioned something about him having his soul eaten, right?" asked Kushina. "Yes, his soul was eaten when he summoned the Taicho of the 0 Division to seal away the Kyuubi into a newborn child," Yamamoto explained. This, however, got an unexpected reaction. "Wait a second, there was only one child born that day," Kushina said with a contemplative look, before her eyes widened in unimaginable horror. "That idiot actually sealed Kyuubi into our son," she yelled. "I am going to guess that was the wrong thing to say," thought Yamamoto, who was starting to feel afraid of Kushina. "Your son? Well, it has been a year since the Kyuubi was sealed into him, but I am afraid we do not know the current condition of your child," Yamamoto sadly told her. Kushina looked sad, but asked a question. "Well, you need to bring people into the Soul Society, right?" Yamamoto nodded before answering. "Yes, we send the Shinigami here to the human world so they can bring souls here." "Well, is there any possible way that I can become a Shinigami, so I can check in on my son occasionally?" asked a hopeful Kushina. "It's possible, but if you want to become a Shinigami, then you must go through the academy. It is a 4-year program, but if you truly excel, then you will not have to spend such a large amount of time there," Yamamoto explained. "I don't care what I have to do. I will do anything to help my son in any way," Kushina said with utter determination. Yamamoto nodded before responding. "Very well, I can sign you up for the academy later. The academy will start in 2 weeks, so why don't you explore the Seirei and find out where everything is?" Kushina nodded, and as she got up, Yamamoto continued. I'll send one of my taichos to escort you so you don't get lost, and so that no one will get any dumb ideas. And with that, he called in his Fukuteicho, Sasaki Chojiro. His appearance doesn't matter, so let's continue. Chojiro-san, can you please bring me Zaraki Taicho? Yamamoto asked, while ignoring the man pale. Hi Yamamoto-sama. And with that, the obviously scared man went to bring in the most feared Taicho in Saraiti. About 20 minutes later, one Zaraki Kenpachi came in, and he looked mad about something. What is it, old man? I finally got in the mood to beat those grunts into the ground, when your wimp of a Fukuteicho showed up. So why am I here? Asked an irate Kenpachi. Well, Zaraki Taicho, I believe that you and this woman met before, correct? Yamamoto asked. It was then that Kenpachi noticed the woman sitting in front of Yamamoto, and his lone eye barely widened in surprise. Hey, didn't we meet before? Kenpachi asked. Yes, about a year ago when you sent me here. In case you forgot, the Kyuubi no Kitsune was attacking at the time. Kushina told him. Oh yeah, didn't your crazy ass husband seal the Kyuubi into your kid? Asked Kenpachi as he started to remember. Yeah, he sealed the Kyuubi in my son, when he should have had someone else perform the jutsu. Kushina told him while scowling. Seriously, Minato should have listened to her. Well, the past is just that, the past. There is nothing we can do about it, I'm sad to say. But I did not just call you here to meet this young woman Zaraki Taicho. The reason I called you here was because I remember how you met this young woman a year ago, so I figured that you could show her around the Saraiti and show her where the academy is. If possible, could you also help her find a place to stay until she begins the academy? Yamamoto asked the giant. Fine. Besides, I guess I can let Yakiru train the grunts for a while. Kenpachi said with a sadistic smile, knowing that Yakiru could sometimes be even crueler than Kenpachi. After all, with how sharp her teeth were, no one would want to disobey her and risk suffering extreme head trauma when she bit down on their heads with an iron grip. Poor Kaku was often the poorer that Yakiru enjoyed torturing the most. Come on, lady, I don't have all day. Kenpachi called out to her as he was leaving. Kushina quickly got up and bowed to Yamamoto before following Kenpachi. As they were walking, Kushina noticed how many Shinigami were quickly trying to get out of the way of the giant that Kushina was following. Deciding to try and get to know the man better, Kushina tried to strike up a conversation. Sue, you're the Taicho of the 11th Division? Kushina asked. Her answer was merely a grunt, so frowning Kushina tried another approach. Since you're a Taicho, I'm guessing you're a good fighter, right? She asked. Now this got Kenpachi's attention. Yep, one of the best in Saraiti. What about you? You got some skills? Kenpachi asked as he turned his head. Well, I was considered an elite back when I was alive. Kushina told him. What were you, a samurai or something? Kenpachi asked, getting interested. No, I was a shinobi. She replied. That's disappointing. Shinobi aren't exactly known for their honor. Kenpachi told her, disappointed. Yeah, well, we were too busy being in war constantly. Besides, I'm not the sneaky type. I always preferred just walking in and killing my enemies instead of hiding in the shadows. Kushina confessed. So how do you think you would do in a duel? No fancy tricks, just using your sword to defeat your opponent. Kenpachi asked, thinking she might be a good sparring partner. Well, I could probably defeat a 5th seat. A 3rd seat could probably beat me with little effort though. Kushina told him. Well, when we're done with the tour, why don't we test that claim? Kenpachi asked. I guess we can. The sooner the tour ends, the sooner we can see. Kushina told him. And so Kenpachi showed her the academy, and showed her the various divisions and their uses. He also told her of the Winter War, and other interesting moments, such as when Ichigo and the other Ryoka came into the Saraiti, and beat some of the Taichos and well, almost everyone else. Alright, this damn tour is over. Now we can see if you're as strong as you think you are. We're going back to the 11th Division compound, and you can spar with my 5th seat, Yasugawa Yumashika. Kenpachi told her. Alright, who knows, he just might beat me. Kushina told him. So Kenpachi took Kushina to the 11th Division, where they encountered one of the oddest men Kushina ever saw. Yumashika had colorful feathers on his eyebrows and eyelashes. He also had very shiny skin and hair. He was also wearing what looked like an orange turtleneck shirt underneath his regular Shinigami uniform. Ah, hello Zaraki Taicho. Today is a beautiful day, don't you think? If only these ugly brutes could be as beautiful as this day. Yumashika told him with a smile. Is this supposed to be Yumashika? Kushina asked, disbelief written all over her face. Yeah, he may be one of the oddest people you will ever meet, but he's strong. Don't underestimate him. Also, he judges everyone and everything by beauty. Kenpachi told her. Zaraki Taicho, who is this beautiful woman? Surely someone of such beauty would stay away from such an unbeautiful place like the 11th. Yumashika asked. Kushina couldn't help the small blush that appeared on her face. Well, I wanted to see how well she can fight, since she claims to be able to fight a 5th seat. So Yumashika, you think you can handle it? Kenpachi asked. Of course, Zaraki Taicho. Kushina-san, please follow me to a sparring area. Yumashika told her as he went to the nearest sparring area. The sparring area looked like a regular dojo. Nothing interesting about it, except for the several guys there sparring. Yumashika was already waiting for Kushina in the center of an arena. He was holding 2 wooden swords, one for himself, the other for Kushina. Are you ready, Kushina-san? Asked Yumashika as Kushina went to the center of the arena. As ready as I'll ever be. Kushina told him as he tossed her a wooden sword, which she caught with ease. By now all of the guys stopped sparring, and made plenty of distance for the 2 fighters. Many of them were wondering why a woman was there, since having a female in the 11th division was incredibly rare. This is just a regular spar. There will be no Kido and no Shunpo. Alright, you guys ready? Kenpachi asked. With a nod from both of them, Kenpachi began the match. Yumashika was the first to attack. He charged in and attempted a horizontal slash. Kushina ducked and attempted a jab, only for Yumashika to jump back. Kushina charged this time and tried to hit him with a vertical slash. Yumashika dodged to the side slightly, and when it looked like Kushina couldn't defend herself, Yumashika attempted another horizontal slash, but he unknowingly fell into Kushina's trap. Kushina narrowly ducked under the attack, and when his attack passed over her head, she grabbed his wrist with one of her hands, and pulled him close. Due to his stance after performing the horizontal slash, when she grabbed his wrist and pulled him closer, she was able to make him turn if only a little, but she used this opportunity to knee him in the back, and then elbowed him in the face. The others were shocked that this newcomer could land such a blow on the 5th seat, but Kenpachi was growing impressed. Someone who wasn't even a Shinigami was putting up a good match with his 5th seat. Yumashika got up and put his hand where Kushina elbowed him. When he saw blood on his hand, he lost it. How dare you harm my beautiful face? Yumashika shouted in anger. With this sudden anger, Yumashika charged again, this time faster than before. He tried a diagonal slash, but Kushina easily blocked it. She used her free hand to grab his sword hand, bringing him closer, where she then did something that was incredibly low. Both literally and figuratively, when he was close enough, she kneed him in the balls. With apparently a great amount of power behind it. Holy crap, these were the thoughts of everyone as they saw the 5th seat rolling on the ground in great pain. Well, it looks like I have another reason to be grateful I'm not Yumashika. Kenpachi thought as he declared Kushina the winner. Akaku, take Yumashika to the 4th division. Kenpachi ordered. A bald man nodded before helping his friend, feeling pity for him. Well kid, it looks like you were right when you said you could defeat a 5th seat. By the way, that last move just wasn't right. Kenpachi told her, while silently laughing at Yumashika's misfortune. Well, at least I didn't use any shinobi tricks. Kushina told him. Good point, Kenpachi said. Alright, now that this spar, if you could call it that, is over, we need to get you a place to stay until you start the academy. Kenpachi said as he wondered where to find a place. Kushina thought for a moment before asking, is it possible that I can stay with one of the Taichos? Well, it's possible that some will allow you to stay with them. I wouldn't recommend the 12th division because of their psycho of a Taicho. The 6th division would also be a bad idea, because Kuchiki is about as fun as a sloth. You would die of boredom there. The 2nd would drive you nuts, because I think the Taicho would probably kill you if you touched her stuffed cat." Before Kenpachi could continue, Hana showed up, much to the discomfort of many 11th Division members who were still terrified of her. "Oh, Kenpachi-kun, I see you have a guest," Hana noted. "Yeah, old man Yama wanted me to help her get acquainted with everything in the Saraiti. He also wanted me to help her find a place to stay until she begins the academy. Do you know any place that will let her stay?" Kenpachi asked. "Well, she can always stay with us," Hana told him, while ignoring Kenpachi viciously shake his head no while Kushina wasn't looking. "Thank you Hana Taicho, but I wouldn't want to be a bother," Kushina told her. "It's no problem whatsoever. We can prepare a guest room, and you can stay there until the academy starts," Hana told her. "Well, if you insist Hana Taicho, I'll try not to be a burden," Kushina said while bowing in thanks. "Don't worry about it. If we can handle Yakiru Fukuteicho, we can handle just about anything," Hana said with a chuckle while Kenpachi was silently agreeing with the last part. "I take it Yakiru Fukuteicho is a handful?" Kushina asked curiously. "Considering I trained her, she looks like a child, has the personality of a child, has more energy than anyone in the Saraiti, obsessed with candy, and can defeat an average Taicho-level Shinigami. I say that she can be a handful but only to the weak," Kenpachi said. "Yakiru," Kenpachi called. In an instant, a little girl with pink hair and rose-colored cheeks appeared. "Hi Ken-chan. Do you want something?" the little girl asked. "Yeah, I want you to take Kushina to our place. She will be staying there for a couple of weeks," Kenpachi told her, gesturing to Kushina. Yakiru turned to Kushina and shouted, "Hi Kushi-chan." Kenpachi chuckled before talking. "Don't take her nicknaming the wrong way. She gives nicknames to just about everyone." Hello Yakiru Fukuteicho. I'm Uzumaki Kushina," Kushina greeted. "Nice to meet you Kushi-chan. I'm Kusajishi Yakiru, but just call me Yakiru," Yakiru said. "Yakiru, go ahead and take Kushina to our place," Kenpachi told her. "Okay Ken-chan. Come on Kushi-chan, I'll tell you the directions," Yakiru said as she jumped on Kushina's shoulder. After they left, Kenpachi turned to Hana. "Why did you invite her to stay at our place?" Kenpachi asked. "Well, I figured that she could probably play with Yakiru-san, and judging on how your fifth seat was when Kushina-san was through with him, she can probably help keep the 11th Division in shape when you're not around," Hana told him. "Yeah, just as long as none of those bastards try and do something that will make me kill them later. Well, I better start training their asses into the ground," Kenpachi said with his shark-like smile. "Have fun, but try not to kill them. It makes less work for me," Hana told him. Kenpachi leaned in and started to whisper in Hana's ear, and soon she was blushing up a storm. After he was done, Kenpachi left the room, chuckling. With Kushina. Kushina was currently running, hoping to dislodge the little child that was on her shoulder. "Left," Yakiru shouted as she pulled on Kushina's hair. "We just went left for the past 8 turns. We're going in circles," Kushina shouted in annoyance. "You're silly Kushi-chan. My female intuition is telling us to go left," Yakiru shouted as she once again pulled at Kushina's hair. "Well, my female intuition is telling us to not go left," Kushina shouted desperately. "Well, my female intuition is better since I've lived here longer. Now go left," Yakiru shouted. Fortunately for Kushina, she found Akaku, who had just returned from taking Yumashika to the 4th Division. "Hi, Baldy-chan," Yakiru greeted. "Oh, hi Yakiru Fukuteicho." Then Akaku noticed Kushina, and immediately used his hands to cover his privates. Hi Kushina-san," Akaku greeted while backing away. "Hi Akaku-san. Akaku-san, do you know where Zaraki Taicho's house is? I'm taking the advice of the kid, and she always insists on turning left," Kushina said. "Well, just go straight, and then make a left turn. After the left turn, go right, and just keep heading straight until you come across a place that looks like it is a mixture of the scariest place you will ever see, and a calming place that looks like it could help you feel peaceful. That is the place," Akaku told her. Unfortunately, Yakiru didn't like the fact that Akaku said her directions were wrong, so she decided to get a little payback. "Ow, get her off," Akaku yelled as Yakiru climbed on him and started to bite down on his bald head. Kushina's sweat dropped at just how cruel Yakiru could be. Kushina tried to help restrain Yakiru, but the Fukutecho proved too much for the both of them. It continued like this for several minutes, with neither able to get Yakiru to calm down, until the ever-stoic Taicho of the 6th Division appeared. "What is going on here?" Byakuya asked. Everyone stopped what they were doing, and turned to him. Suddenly Yakiru smiled and shouted. "Hi Byakushi," she greeted. Hello Kuchiki Taicho." Akaku groaned. "Yakiru Fukutecho, why don't you visit one of the other Taichos?" Byakuya suggested. "But I want to play with Baldi-chan and Kushi-chan." Yakiru whined. Byakuya didn't respond, but instead reached into a pocket and pulled out some candy. He tossed it to Yakiru, who happily caught it. She then ran off to Tortu Air play with someone else. Thank you for the help Kuchiki Taicho." Akaku thanked while bowing his head in gratitude. "Yes, we really appreciate this Kuchiki Taicho." Kushina thanked while also bowing. Byakuya nodded before speaking. "Be more careful next time. Yakiru Fukutecho can be dangerous when she is angry. If you don't mind me asking Kuchiki Taicho, why are you here? You hardly ever come near this area." Akaku asked curiously. Byakuya looked at him, wondering if it was worth his time to answer the commoner. Before answering, "I need to speak with Zaraki Taicho." "Where is he?" Byakuya asked. "He's in the 11th Division compound training the grunts." Akaku answered. "Very well then." And with that Byakuya left. "Who was that?" Kushina asked curiously. "That was the Taicho of the 6th Division, Kuchiki Byakuya. He is the head of the noble Kuchiki family, one of the 4 noblest families in Seoul society." Akaku answered. "Well, with his attitude, it makes you wonder if he has a kunai stuck in his ass." Kushina responded. Akaku chuckled. "Wow, not too many people have the guts to insult Kuchiki Taicho." He commented. "Yeah, well, I've insulted some people of some of the noblest clans in my village." She replied. "Whistle, nice." Akaku commented. "Well, I better go over to Zaraki Taicho's place." Kushina told him. As she ran off, Akaku could only think, things are going to be fun with her around. A few minutes later, Kushina found Kenpachi's and Unohana's place. It was a simple 2-story house with a back porch, and just like Akaku said, the place was terrifying and yet calm at the same time. Probably due to both Zaraki Taicho and Unohana Taicho living here, she thought. "Impressed are we?" asked a familiar voice. Kushina jumped, and turned around to meet Unohana, who smiled serenely. "I decided to take a break and help you get adjusted to the house." Unohana answered Kushina's unasked question. "Oh, thank you Unohana Taicho." Kushina thanked while bowing her head. "As long as you're here Kushina-san, please just call me Retsu." Unohana said. "Okay, thank you Retsu-san. Well, let's get you adjusted shall we?" Unohana suggested. Kushina nodded, and they both went into the house. The house was rather simple, with a hallway leading to a couple of other rooms, some plants here and there, some swords on a wall, a staircase to the right of the entrance that lead to the 2nd floor, and on one wall was a case and inside was a jar. On the case were the words, "In case of emergency break glass." Retsu-san, what is in the jar if you don't mind me asking?" Kushina asked. "Oh no, not at all. In the jar is candy for one of those days in which Yakiru-chan is a bit aggressive." Unohana told her. "I can see where that would count as an emergency," Kushina thought. And so, Unohana showed Kushina around the house. The living room was large, with a couch in the center. There were a couple of end tables with some books on them. There was also a couple of windows facing the couch. The kitchen was a decent size, larger than most kitchens. There was a flat-top stove on one end, and the oven was also decent. There was also a stainless steel refrigerator of decent size right next to the stove, with a countertop separating them. They left the kitchen, and went down a hallway. The door on the left led to a dojo that was pretty large. There were also plenty of training dummies in there. They left the dojo, and on the door on the opposite side of the hallway lead to a guest room that Kushina would be staying in. There was a bed leaning on one wall, and next to that on the left side was a dresser, and on the right side was an end table. She also showed Kushina Yakiru's room on the 2nd floor. Kushina was surprised that the walls were painted with mutilated bunnies. The room was almost the same as Kushina's. The last room Unohana showed Kushina was her and Kenpachi's room. There was a sword on the wall, and the bed was quite large, and this room was also similar to the others. Overall the house was rather nice. Sorry, but I didn't really want to describe the inside of the house. Retsu-san. At Unohana's questioning look she continued, I was wondering, since all of Seoul society is in an ancient Japanese environment, well, why do you have modern technology here? Kushina asked curiously. Unohana chuckled before answering, well, they make things easier. Not to mention that with the modern technology, we are able to keep track of hollows. Just because we are in an ancient Japanese environment does not mean we don't use modern technology for various purposes. Kushina nodded, it made some sense. Well, please make yourself at home. I need to go check on Zaraki Taicho, and make sure no one gets too hurt. Unohana told her. And so Unohana left to check in on Kenpachi and the 11th Division. Meanwhile Kushina was thinking, well, this is bound to be an interesting 2 weeks. And what interesting 2 weeks they were. Throughout her stay, Kushina had to face many difficult challenges that were so difficult. Uchiha Madara would commit suicide just to rest in peace. These challenges, i.e., Yakiru nearly killed Kushina a second time. And Kenpachi, well, he kept feeling something odd when he was around Kushina. And that was familiarity. He couldn't help but think that there was something about Kushina that seemed very familiar. Eventually, this feeling became so strong that he consulted Unohana. Damn it, I know that I've seen her before but I can't remember where. Kenpachi told Unohana. Well, is it possible you met her when she was a kid, back in the living world? Unohana questioned calmly. It's possible, but the chances are slim. I hardly spent any time in the elemental nations. I can count on one hand how many times I've been there in the last 500 years. Kenpachi told her. Well, there is a chance that you could be related. But the chances are also slim. I've observed Kushina-san for a while, and her personality is slightly similar to yours. Unohana replied. I doubt it, but then again anything is possible. Kenpachi commented. Well, if we get a blood sample, then we can possibly determine if she is related to you in any way. I can probably get it, and trace the DNA back through her family lineage. Unohana told him. Kenpachi nodded before speaking. Well, how do we get the blood sample? I can bring her in for a checkup. After all, everyone who goes to the academy must be examined, in case there is anything wrong with them. Unohana told him. Do you want me to bring her in? Asked Kenpachi. Yes please. We should do this as soon as possible, or else it may drive you insane and make you send some of your subordinates to my division. Unohana told him. Kenpachi nodded, and left to bring in Kushina to the 4th Division. She came in about a few hours later, mostly because Kenpachi kept getting lost. Okay, Kushina-san, I just need to take a quick blood sample, so we can determine if you have a disease. This is mandatory for everyone hoping to go to the academy. Unohana informed her. Kushina nodded, and let Unohana take her blood sample with no arguments. Thank you Kushina-san, I will contact you when I can determine if you are fine or not. Unohana told her. Thank you Unohana Taicho, and with that, Kushina left. Once the door was closed, Unohana started to inspect the DNA of Kushina's blood sample. Finally after a few hours, Unohana found something that shocked her to the core. She summoned a hell butterfly, and spoke to it. Please send this message to Zaraki Taicho. Zaraki Taicho, please come to the 4th Division immediately. I found out why Kushina-san is so familiar. Unohana said, and with that, the hell butterfly left to find Kenpachi. A few hours later, after getting lost many times, Kenpachi finally found Unohana. Retsu-chan, did you found out how she is familiar? Kenpachi asked. Unohana nodded and answered, yes, apparently she is. Kenpachi's response was heard throughout the Seraiti. What? Yes, Kenpachi-kun, Kushina-san is your daughter. Unohana told him. Silence. It was so silent you could hear a pin needle drop. Zaraki Kenpachi, the most feared Taicho in the history of Seraiti, just found out that he had a daughter. It didn't help matters that his wife was giving him a look that said, explain or die. Although he was greatly feared, he knew to never get on his wife's bad side. Hell, even Aizen was not dumb enough to anger Unohana. Why he did get on her bad side, and willingly, would forever be a mystery to Kenpachi. Kenpachi-kun, can you explain how she is your daughter? Unohana asked in an overly sweet voice, and to those that noticed, it held the promise of much pain if she didn't like the answer. I don't know. I don't remember her at all, Kenpachi said, hoping that would please his wife. Unfortunately it didn't. Well, I know she is not my daughter. And if she is yours, then did you perhaps have a little fun with someone in the living world? Unohana asked still with that sweet voice. Kenpachi frowned. You and I both know that the only person I ever had an affair with died a long time ago. Unohana winced. She completely forgot about that. Apparently, about 2 years before Aizen's betrayal, Kenpachi was assigned a long-term mission in the elemental nations. While he was there, Kenpachi met a woman, and he slowly fell in love with her. She was a bit odd. She could always be kind and caring to her friends, but when she was in a fight, which she enjoyed, she could be almost like Kenpachi. This is what attracted Kenpachi to her. 1 year later, she became pregnant with Kenpachi's child, and 9 months later gave birth to a beautiful baby girl. Afterwards Kenpachi and his lover were inseparable. Unfortunately, 3 months after the little girl's birth, Kenpachi was ordered to come back to Zaraki, in order to be told of Rukia's execution. After it was revealed that Aizen betrayed Soul Society, Kenpachi was not allowed to go back to the elemental nations, because he was needed in Soul Society. He argued against Yamamoto about going back to his lover, but Yamamoto was adamant about Kenpachi staying in case Aizen attacked. After the Winter War and Aizen was killed, Kenpachi immediately went back to the elemental nations, only to be shocked when he noticed his lover's home village was completely consumed in flame. He tried to find her, but with the fire it was difficult. After he was unable to find her, he believed that her body was burned to ash, and her soul may have been consumed by a hollow that quickly got over its fear of the Biju, if only for a moment. When he returned to Zaraki, he was filled with grief and rage. When he returned, he was so angry, he attacked Yamamoto and broke his nose, only to be restrained by all of the other Taichos. When he came to, he was in a depression, and refused to talk with anyone. The most he did, was apologize to Yamamoto for his broken nose. For weeks he spoke to no one, he didn't even fight. The only ones he even spoke to were Unohana and Yakiru. Others tried helping, but he was too depressed. Over time however, Unohana and Yakiru slowly brought the man back into his old self, but it was a very slow process. However, thanks to the two of them Kenpachi became his old self again, though he preferred to never think of his past in the elemental nations, because he believed that he would become too depressed again, and be unable to help his division. Yamamoto had Kenpachi take a vacation, in order to help clear his mind, and to help, he allowed Unohana to accompany him. It was when he finally came back to the 11th division that Kenpachi was his old self, but people quickly noticed how he and Unohana were spending much more time together. At first Kenpachi was reluctant to open his heart for anyone other than Yakiru, out of fear, yes fear, that the next person he fell in love with would meet an untimely end, like his last lover and the original Yakiru, not the little girl who was always accompanying him. But when he saw Unohana mad one day, he knew she could definitely take care of herself. So slowly, ever so slowly, he started to open his heart to her. 7 years later, they were dating, and a few years after that, they were engaged. Opening his heart again, was a decision Kenpachi never once regretted. I'm sorry, Kenpachi-kun. I completely forgot about that. Unohana apologized while looking disappointed in herself. Don't worry about it, let's just not mention it. Kenpachi mentioned. I'm sorry Kenpachi-kun, but you need to realize that if Kushina-san is your daughter, then there is a chance she could be her daughter as well. Unohana told him. I guess it's possible, but I want undeniable proof that she is my daughter, before I believe any of this. Kenpachi told her. Well, if we can get her to tell us who her mother was, then that might help you out. Unohana pointed out. Alright then, let's go. Kenpachi told her. Kenpachi-kun, you need a little more tact. I will ask her later today, but for now why don't you go train the people in the 11th? Unohana asked. Good idea. And so Kenpachi ran over to the 11th while laughing his maniacal laugh. With Akaku and Yumashika. Akaku and Yumashika were walking while talking about anything interesting that happened to cross their minds, when Akaku stopped and stiffened. "What's wrong, Akaku?" Yumashika asked. "I don't know. But did you just feel a chill creep down your spine, and sense that you will be in a lot of pain today?" Akaku asked. Yumashika looked at his friend oddly, before sighing. "Akaku, I am sure it was just your own ugly imagination." Suddenly Akaku felt a weight on his right shoulder, and when he looked, he saw Yakiru looking at him innocently. "Hey Baldy-chan," Yakiru asked. "Yes, Yakiru Fukutecho. I figured I should let you know that Ken-chan is on his way here, and he's laughing," Yakiru told him. Akaku paled, and then asked, "Yakiru Fukutecho, is his laugh the, 'I'm going to kill someone' laugh, or is it the, 'Yakiru's antics are funny' laugh?" Yakiru looked thoughtful for a moment before replying in a cheery voice, "It's Ken-chan's, 'I'm going to play with someone' laugh." To those who knew Yakiru, it was Kenpachi's, "I'm going to kill someone and enjoy it' laugh. Needless to say, Akaku and Yumashika were running as if the devil himself was after them. Later that night, Unohana, Kenpachi, Yakiru, and Kushina just finished eating a fantastic meal that Unohana made. Kushina, however, was surprised at how quickly Yakiru eats. She was like a machine. "Thank you for dinner, Retsu-san," Kushina thanked. "You're welcome. I'm glad you liked it," Unohana said. They all went to the living room, and Unohana sent Yakiru to her room, so she could get some sleep. When Yakiru was gone, they started talking about random things, until Unohana asked something. "So Kushina-san, since you were a shinobi back when you were alive, were your parents also shinobi?" She asked. "No, my mother was just a villager, but my father was the head of the Uzumaki clan in Uzu no Kuni. My mother did tell me that he wasn't my biological father, but I still loved him like one. He was actually a very nice and caring individual," Kushina told them. "Well, who were your parents if you don't mind me asking?" Unohana asked. Normally she wouldn't be so bold, but this was for Kenpachi. Not expecting the question, Kushina answered, "Well, my stepfather's name was Uzumaki Sojiro. And my mother's name was Uzumaki Megumi, but her maiden name was Shinomori Megumi," Kushina told them. Kenpachi nearly choked on his drink that he brought into the living room. He couldn't believe it. She was the daughter of Shinomori Megumi. Then that means, she really is Kenpachi's daughter. If it wasn't for the fact he considered it unmanly, Kenpachi would have fainted. "Thank you for telling us, Kushina-san. Now, why don't you go to bed? The academy will be starting soon, and you want to be fully rested," Unohana told her. Kushina nodded. She was starting to feel tired. When she went to her room, and closed the door, Kenpachi turned to Unohana. "I can't believe it, she really is my daughter. Well, this is an odd situation," Kenpachi said. "Yes, but how are you going to tell her? If we tell her now, she could be distracted during the academy, and that could make her take a longer time to graduate and help her son," Unohana pointed out. They didn't have to worry for long, because a certain someone overheard the whole conversation. "I have a Nei-chan. Yay." These were the thought of a certain pink-haired little girl. When Kenpachi and Unohana decided to retire for the night, Yakiru ran to Kushina's room and knocked. When Kushina opened the door, she was tackled and put in a powerful hug. When she looked down, she saw Yakiru hugging to her. Yakiru-san, can I help you with something?" Kushina asked curiously. "I wanted to greet my new Nei-chan, Kushi-chan," Yakiru told her excited. "Oh well, that's nice that you think of me as a sister, Yakiru-san," but, before she could finish, she was interrupted by Yakiru. "But Kushi Nei-chan, I overheard Ken-chan and Mommy Brady-chan saying Ken-chan is your daddy-chan," Yakiru told her, much to Kushina's shock. "Wait, what did you just say, Yakiru-san?" Kushina asked, not sure she heard her properly. "I said that Ken-chan and Mommy Brady-chan said that Ken-chan is your daddy-chan," Yakiru told her. What's going on over here?" Kenpachi asked. Kenpachi-san, Yakiru-san told me something interesting. She said that she overheard you saying that you are my father." "Care to explain this?" Kushina asked with a dark look in her eyes. Kenpachi gulped and cast a quick glare at Yakiru, but she only laughed it off. He tried to find something to say, but he couldn't think of anything, but fortunately Unohana showed up, and helped him out. Kushina-san, please sit down, and we will explain. Yakiru-chan, why don't you go back to bed? Unohana suggested. But Mommy Brady-chan, I want to listen to this. Don't I have a right to know? Yakiru asked, while giving the puppy dog look. With most people it was a formidable weapon, but when Yakiru used it, it was absolutely unstoppable. Sigh, all right Yakiru-chan, you can stay. Unohana said. Yay, Yakiru shouted as she jumped onto the couch. Everyone else sat down, with Kenpachi being almost as nervous as the time he proposed. Well, better get this over with. Kenpachi thought, annoyed. And so Kenpachi explained everything, about his MS Scion in the elemental nations to Aizen's betrayal, and eventually to the Winter War. Kushina was enthralled by the story, and when Kenpachi finally explained to her about her family lineage, she was shocked. Granted, she always felt she was different from others, but learning you are the daughter of a Shinigami, and apparently one of the strongest there is, would shock anyone speechless. Kenpachi would never admit it, but he was starting to get nervous with Kushina's silence. She had been silent for a few minutes now and he was getting nervous. Finally, Kushina started rubbing her forehead while mumbling, I have gotta be too old for this shit. Try being over 300 years old, and discovering these things for yourself. Kenpachi told her. Kushina nodded, he had a point. They sat in an awkward silence for a few minutes until Kenpachi decided to try and break the tension. Sue, how was the shinobi life? Kenpachi asked, feeling awkward since he had no idea what to talk about with the daughter he thought was dead and now is. It was all right, though there were too many missions to get done and way too many wars. Kushina confessed. Are you kidding? I would kill to be in your shoes at the time. I can just imagine all of the destructive battles that could take place. Kenpachi said with a wide smile. Deciding to talk before Kenpachi goes on one of his, those battles would have been great, speeches, Unohana decided to ask something. So Kushina-san, I heard you were married. If you don't mind me asking, how did you and your husband meet? Unohana asked calmly. What she got was unexpected. Yes, I was. I'm sorry Retsu-san, but I would prefer to forget everything about that man. He was too much of an idealist, and although he was considered a genius, he was a fool when it came to predicting people's emotions in certain circumstances. Kushina told them, pure anger evident in her voice. Unohana also noted that Kushina spoke of her husband as though he were a poison. Kenpachi also seemed to scowl at that. Granted, he wasn't a people person, but even he knew what his son-in-law, man that would take a while to get used to, did was sheer stupidity when it came to his kid. Kenpachi was a realist, not an idealist, and he was proud to say that his daughter, man that would also take a long time to get used to, was the intelligent one in that marriage. Deciding to continue on, Unohana asked another question. I am curious, but was the circumstance you were talking about involve the Kyuubi no Kitsune? Kushina was shocked that they knew, and asked how she knew. Kenpachi-kun, Hitsugaya Taicho, and Kuchiki Taicho were in the elemental nations in order to console the spirits that appeared because of the Kyuubi. Unohana answered. Unohana then checked the clock. Yes, they have clocks as well, next to Kushina, and noticed that it was getting rather late. Kushina-san, why don't you go ahead and go to bed? It is getting late, and you will need your energy for tomorrow. We can continue our conversation at a later date. Yakiru-chan, it's time to go to bed. Unohana told the little girl. But Mommy Brady-chan, I want to stay up. Yakiru told her. Sorry Yakiru-chan, but you need to go to bed, and regain your energy if you want to help Kenpachi-kun train the 11th Division. Unohana pointed out. Good idea. I better go to bed, so I can play with them, i.e. kick everyone's ass tomorrow. Yakiru shouted, whilst everyone in the 11th Division suddenly felt a chill go down their spines. When everyone went to bed, Kenpachi turned to his wife, and pointed something out. So, should one of us go to the elemental nations to check on what's his name? He asked. We can ask Yamamoto Sotaicho tomorrow, but we need to go to bed. It's getting late, Unohana said, so Kenpachi followed his wife to their bedroom, all the while wondering what was going to happen next. The next day, Kenpachi faced Yamamoto in the Taicho meeting room. Beside him were the other Taichos, with Yamamoto in front of him. So Zaraki Taicho, you had something you wanted to talk to me about? Yamamoto asked. Inwardly Kenpachi cursed. He wanted to talk to Yamamoto about this alone, but it just so happened there would be a meeting today. So now he had to tell not only Yamamoto, but all of the other Taichos. I hate my life. Just for the record, I hate all of you for holding this meeting today. But anyone remember that woman, Kushina? Kenpachi asked. Although most of the Taichos felt their eyebrows tick due to what he said, a few nodded their heads when he asked about Kushina. Kushina-chan, isn't she that cute redhead that appeared a couple of weeks ago? Let me guess, she noticed me, and now she has felt herself grow weak with desire. Hiraku asked with a perverted grin. Hana felt her eyes widen slightly, as she thought, uh-oh. Kenpachi turned his head and regarded Kiraku with a fierce glare with some spiritual pressure coming out. Kiraku, if you talk about my daughter like that again, then I'll cut your balls off. Kenpachi said evilly. Kiraku paled, while the other Taichos noticed what he said. You have a daughter? Well, holy shit, Jin remarked, eyes opening slightly in shock. Some Taichos however were thinking along the lines of, another ONE. Just how many children does Zaraki have? Your daughter. Please elaborate Zaraki Taicho, Yamamoto ordered. Well, remember when I broke your nose when I thought my fiancé and our kid were dead? Kenpachi asked. At Yamamoto's hesitant nod, he continued. Well, apparently they were alive and probably went into hiding when their village was destroyed. They ended up in a place called Uzu no Kuni, where my fiancé married some other guy, and they took on the Uzumaki clan name. My long-lost daughter ended up here a few weeks ago, and I learned something interesting. Kenpachi told them. And that would be? Yamamoto asked, although he had a feeling on where this was going. It turns out Kushina had a son before she died, and you know what? That kid, my grandson apparently, has the damn Kyuubi no Kitsune sealed inside of him. Kenpachi practically shouted. The other Taicho's eyes widened in surprise at this. So what is it you want exactly, Zaraki Taicho? Yamamoto asked, although he had a very good feeling on what Kenpachi wanted. Well, can I take a vacation for a few years? Someone has to teach the runt how to defend himself from everyone. Kenpachi told them. The other Taichos were yet again surprised. But Yamamoto was expecting this, and already had an answer. I'm sorry Zaraki Taicho, but we need you here to keep the 11th division in proper working order, and you know we cannot directly interfere with Ryoka. Oh really? Well, please explain to me why so many Shinigami like to go to the human world and hang out with the Ryoka. Also please explain why we have worked with Ryoka in order to kill Aizen. And let's not forget the fact that recently you've been going to the human world in order to. That's enough, Yamamoto shouted, looking slightly embarrassed. My point is that we've worked beside Ryoka, rescued Ryoka, and stormed a fortress to help a Ryoka, so I don't see what the problem is with me going and helping another one. Besides, you have to look at things from another angle. Yakiru is capable of keeping the 11th in good working condition, and I also have Akaku and Yumashika doing the paperwork. And do you really want to risk the kid becoming an outcast, hating the world, and becoming just as evil if not more so than Aizen? If that happened we would have an incredibly large amount of souls appearing, which in turn would attract hollows. While I admit that having so many hollows in one place sounds great, you people, for reasons of yet to figure out, dislike violence. So seriously old geezer, the decision is not that hard to figure out. Kenpachi reasoned. To say all of the Taichos would be shocked is like saying Yakiru only likes candy a little bit. The largest understatement of the millennium. Not once had they ever heard Kenpachi use such a good deal of logic and reasoning, without violence. Yamamoto, who was coming over his shock, had to grudgingly admit that Kenpachi was right. Yakiru was capable of keeping the grunts in the 11th in shape, and he made a mental note to himself to find a way to get all of the Taichos to do their paperwork, instead of getting someone else to do it. Also, if Kenpachi could get the kid to be a good soul for when he died, they could have a powerful ally with them. Yamamoto grudgingly had to admit that Kenpachi had his moments when he could be absolutely brilliant. He also had to admit that he was glad that didn't happen too often in cases like this. Sigh, well Zaraki Taicho, I must admit that you have excellent reasoning. But it will take some time for me to make a decision. Yamamoto was cut off by an annoyed Kenpachi. Enough of this shit. Every moment you waste deciding if it's worth helping the Gaki is every moment those idiot villagers in Konoha will use to try and kill him. So hurry up and make a damn decision. Kenpachi yelled. Yamamoto glared at Kenpachi, who just shrugged it off, before thinking, I am way too old for this crap. Sigh, alright you can go, but you must return back to Soul Society, when the child is around 12 years old. He should be pretty strong by then, and if the information I received from people like Senju Tobarama is correct, then the boy should be attending the Shinobi Academy when the others graduate. So you had better make him strong, Zaraki Taicho. Yamamoto answered. Ha, thanks old geezer. Well, I'm off to train a potential me. Kenpachi shouted happily, whilst ignoring some of the Taichos pale at the mere thought of another Kenpachi. One more thing, Zaraki Taicho. When Kenpachi turned back to Yamamoto he continued. I have no doubt you will be killing people in the elemental nations, so when you do, you must send the souls to the other side. So you will not only need a Gigai, but plenty of soul candy. So go and get a Gigai prepared, and bring plenty of soul candy. If you run out, then return here to receive more. And try not to go overboard with the killing. Yamamoto informed him. I can kill too. This is the greatest vacation ever. Kenpachi laughed maniacally as he ran out of the room. Don't we still have a meeting? Asked Yukitaki. Yes, so while we are here, can someone bring in Kusajishi Fukuteicho? She will have to be the substitute Taicho until Zaraki returns. Kuchiki Taicho, you can bring her here. Yamamoto said, as Byakuya paled, and he thought something very un-Kuchiki-like. Damn. With Kenpachi a couple of hours later. Kenpachi glared at the tiny, whimpering figure in front of him. It took him a while, but he finally had everything prepared for when he went to the elemental nations, and the only thing left was to get through the gate. He also decided to inform Yakiru of his little trip. She was not thrilled. After much screaming and questions as to why she couldn't come, and he had to go, he told her he would be helping her nephew. Since she and Kushina were sisters in a way, then Naruto could be considered Yakiru's nephew. That calmed her down a little, but she warned him that he needed to bring back a souvenir for her. After convincing Yumashika to make her a very small haori to show she was the new temporary Taicho, he left her with Byakuya, who was not pleased about being the unfortunate Shinigami to bring Yakiru to the meeting. Now, Kenpachi had to get through the gate, but he had a little problem with it. Hurry and open the damn gate, or else when I come back I'll rip your arm out of its socket. Kenpachi threatened. I'm sorry Zaraki Taicho, but the G gate won't be able to lock onto Kei Konoha. The tiny compared to Kenpachi, Shinigami stuttered out. Kenpachi's glare only intensified, before asking, why the hell not? When the Kei Kyubi attacked Konoha, we were able to lock the G gate onto the Kei Kitsune's massive spiritual power, but with the Kei Kyubi gone, we have no target that the gate can lock onto. You could end up anywhere in the elemental nations. Like I give a damn. Open the gate, and maybe I won't consider kicking your ass. Kenpachi ordered. The Shinigami scurried over, and opened a gate as quickly as he could. When it was open, Kenpachi ran forward, disappearing into the elemental nations. Unknown location. Kenpachi was in his Gigai, and he appeared in what looked like a desolate wasteland, with no life around for miles. Looking around, he spotted a nearby shinobi with a symbol of 2 rocks on his headband, so Kenpachi called him over. Hey you, I need to ask you something real quick. Kenpachi asked the smaller in size shinobi, who appeared to be a Junin. What do you want? The man asked in a gruff tone. I'm looking for a place called Konoha, do you know where it is? Kenpachi asked. The man's eyes narrowed in anger before asking harshly, why the hell should I tell you? Kenpachi frowned before answering, because if you don't tell me, then I'm killing your ass. Kenpachi growled out. Smirking, the man replied, I'm a Junin you baka. What makes you think you can kill me? The Junin pulled out a kunai and rushed towards Kenpachi, believing he could kill him. Poor delusional bastard. 30 seconds later, the Junin was sprawled on the ground, clutching what used to be his left arm, as Kenpachi cut the thing completely off, and his right leg was completely shattered. Walking over to the weakened Junin, Kenpachi stepped on the man and added pressure before speaking again. Now I'm gonna ask again. Where is Konoha? Kenpachi asked. The Junin, knowing there was no way he could escape, answered. We're at a border, but Konoha is extremely far in that general direction somewhere, he said before pointing to where Konoha is with his only remaining arm. However, it would take a normal person a couple of years before they reach that damn village. The distance between here and there is so great. Kenpachi glared and released a decent amount of bloodlust into the air, before thinking. Damn, perhaps I should have waited for the gate to be fixed. After plunging his sword into the man's chest, he popped a piece of soul candy into his mouth, allowing his spirit to get out of the Gigai. The Junin's spirit was hovering above his dead body, when Kenpachi appeared over the Gigai. What the hell is going on? What happened? He yelled, obviously unnerved about what was going on. And to think he was a Junin. First off, I'm a Shinigami. Second, I'm here to send you to either Soul Society or Heaven, as you would probably call it, or Hell. Now stay still so I can send you off, Kenpachi ordered. The Junin could do nothing as Kenpachi wasted no time whatsoever in performing a kanso, but since the man was corrupt in life, the gates of hell appeared and dragged the screaming man inside. Kenpachi wasn't affected because he's seen this happen hundreds of times, so he went back into his Gigai. Crap, I hate these things. I feel so much weaker with them, Kenpachi commented on his Gigai, before he started running in the general direction in which Konoha would be in, already knowing that Naruto's life was in danger if he didn't hurry. And to think the vacation started off so well. It was night on October 10th. In the heart of Hi-no-Kuni, in the village of Konohagakure no Sato, there was a festival going on. This festival was to celebrate the defeat of the Kyuubi no Kitsune. It was a joyous celebration for all, except for one. This exception was a young boy, no older than 3 years old. He was at first excited about the festival, but when he appeared after being kicked out of the orphanage, he was chased away by a bunch of drunks. They eventually formed into a large mob, chasing the poor boy all over the village. This boy had golden blonde hair, cerulean blue eyes, and 3 whisker marks on each cheek. His name was Uzumaki Naruto, the Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi no Kitsune. They chased him into an alleyway, where he was trapped, and so they began beating the poor boy to within an inch of his life. But what they didn't know was the fact the young Naruto would have someone here soon. And this person was practically a torrent of unimaginable power. This would be the night young Naruto's life would change forever. Outside Konoha, within the forests surrounding Konoha, was a man. This man was incredibly large, probably 6 feet 5 inches. He was very muscular, and had his hair spiked in numerous directions with bells of all things on the tips. He had an eye patch covering his right eye. He wasn't wearing a shirt, but instead a blood-red trench coat on. He was also wearing a pair of black cargo jeans, and he had an oddly shaped katana at his side. The man carried an aura of power, so great only a fool would willingly fight him. That's probably why about a quarter of Iowa had been annihilated not too long ago, and he got the nickname, Nightmare. As he walked over to the gates surrounding Konoha, a couple of Chunin made themselves known. Halt, state your name and business, one of them demanded. Name's unimportant, but is this Konoha? He asked. The Chunin looked at him oddly before replying. Yeah, but why are you here? The Chunin asked. I'm on business, now open the gate and I'll leave you alone. The man ordered, with a terrifying glare coming from his only visible eye. What kind of business? The Chunin asked, narrowing his eyes, and pulling out a kunai in a threatening gesture, hoping not to convey how terrified he was of this man. The man sighed in annoyance, before pulling out some papers he borrowed. If it was up to him, he would have just killed the guys, but he had to get into Konoha with as little casualties as possible. The old man was angry enough with the Iowa incident. This good enough? He asked in annoyance. The Chunin's eyes traveled over the paper, before nodding to the other guards to open the gate. Enjoy your time in Konohagakure, the Chunin said as he gestured towards the village. TCH, whatever. And with that, the man walked into the village. As he walked through the gate, he noticed how people were walking without a care in the world, and it disgusted him. People were walking as though there was no tragedy 3 years ago. People were drunk, laughing, and a few were mourning for their loved ones who died 3 years ago. But they meant little to the walking giant, as he explored the place looking for someone. Fortunately, as he walked, people were leaving a wide berth for him, which allowed him to see through the crowd easier. This proved beneficial, as he followed down the street, and his sharp hearing heard some noise coming from an alleyway. Deciding to follow it, he was rewarded with the sight of a mob of about 20 people, taking turns beating something. The man could see a little bit of golden blonde hair, and he immediately had a good suspicion as to who it was. But just to be sure, 'cause the old man would have a cow if there was another massacre, he walked up to the front, pushing people harshly to get to the current punching bag. When he got to the front, he finally saw who it was, and as he does, he feels one thing. Rage. Pure unbridled rage is what the man is feeling as he looks at this. No one does this to one of his relatives and lives. His killing intent is so strong. The villagers stopped what they're doing, and looked at him with fear in their eyes. "Hello, S." The man growled out with a smile full of malice as he turned around. Who are you?" one of the villagers asked in a frightened voice as they backed away. "Me? Well, quite frankly, I'm the grandfather of the little boy you're attacking, but you can just call me Zaraki Kenpachi," he shouted with a final explosion of killing intent that froze everyone in place. Unsheathing his sword, he charged the frightened group of people, laughing like a madman as the slaughter began. People tried to run away from him like the idiots they were, only to be cut down into numerous pieces. Zaraki's fury was unmatched as the villagers faced the wrath of Nightmare Zaraki, a wrath that few people would willingly fight. Within moments, the last villager fell to Kenpachi's might, and he knew he would have to help Naruto and fast, before Shinobi investigated, having no doubt sensed his little slaughter. Quickly turning around and sheathing his sword, Kenpachi approached the unconscious form of his grandson, and just as he thought, the boy looked a lot like his father. Kneeling down to pick him up, he tensed as he sensed the shinobi appear behind him. Although he didn't show it, Kenpachi was ready to kill them all, and run with Naruto. One of the shinobi stood out amongst the other 6 Anbu. He was a shinobi in black armor, and looked like he was in his late 60s. He approached the scene of the massacre with no small amount of horror. What have you done?" was the first thing he asked, with a look of total shock and horror. "Simple. I killed the bastards harming my grandson." "You have a problem with that old man?" Kenpachi asked, turning towards the old man, with a terrifying killer intent pressed upon the shinobi. Grandson?" Sarutobi asked, completely shocked. "Yeah, you deaf or something?" Kenpachi yelled. Struggling to regain his breath, Sarutobi leveled a glare at the imposing figure before him. I don't believe you. Naruto-kun has no family." Sarutobi yelled, angry that this thing dared to claim to be related to someone he saw as a grandson. Chuckling darkly, Kenpachi drew his sword, and added a bit more killing intent to the morons. "It doesn't matter what you think. I'm taking the kid out of this shithole, and I dare one of you morons to try and stop me." "I don't think so." One of the Anbu rushed towards Kenpachi, intent on skewering him, and hopefully Naruto with his ninja too. "What a moron." Chuckling even more, Kenpachi disappeared and reappeared behind the man, and a moment later, the Anbu exploded in a shower of blood and guts. Frowning, Kenpachi merely looked at him before turning his attention to the scared stiff shinobi in front of him. "Well, that was boring. Hopefully one of you shits will be more fun." Kenpachi looked all the more eager to find out. "You monster." Performing hand seals, Sarutobi shouted after completing his jutsu. "Doden. Yomi Numa." From underneath Kenpachi, a swamp appeared, trapping him in it. Frowning again, Kenpachi just walked out of it with absolutely no problem. Seriously, who would think a mere swamp could hold a Shinigami, especially one as powerful as him, even if he was at 1/5 of his original power? Sarutobi, however, was shocked. How did you do that? No one has ever escaped this jutsu." "Yeah, well, you, shinobi, rely too much on your pathetic jutsu. Try to fight like men for once in your life," Kenpachi replied, before charging the scared shinobi. Sarutobi jumped over the giant, because since they were in an alleyway, there was little room to maneuver. Fortunately, Sarutobi wasn't who Kenpachi was charging at. The Anbu with the Hokage were scared, because Kenpachi was headed straight towards them. Earlier, The Anbu sent out a small but noticeable killing intent at the unconscious boy behind him, and quite frankly that pissed off Kenpachi. So he decided to deal with the problem the same way that he solved all of his problems. He would simply kill it. Charging at them, Kenpachi grinned as he slashed at the first Anbu he saw, one who was wearing a bear mask. The other ANB jumped away, and stuck to the walls with chakra, but the bear-masked one was too slow to get away in time, and was cut in half from his left shoulder to his right hip. The other Anbu sprung into action, and started to perform hand seals, and when they finished, they shouted, "Kaden! Gukaku no Jutsu!" shouted a Kiwi-masked Anbu. "Kaden! Hausenka no Jutsu!" shouted a cat-masked Anbu. "Doden! Doryu Enden!" shouted a boar-masked Anbu. "Kaden! Enden!" shouted a snake-masked Anbu. "Doden! Domu!" shouted a hawk-masked Anbu, who soon shot a spear made of earth at the fearsome opponent. The Anbu all smirked as the attacks headed straight for Kenpachi, as did Sarutobi. He knew that the Anbu sent killer intent at Naruto, so he would just have to punish them later. The attacks headed straight for Kenpachi, but right before the attacks could collide, he sent a burst of spiritual pressure strong enough to dispel the Kaden jutsus, and as for the Doden jutsu, they collided but didn't leave so much as a scratch on him. As for the shuriken in the Hausenka no jutsu, hell, they just bounced off of his incredibly hard gigai. Everyone was dumbstruck as their powerful jutsu had no effect on the monster before them. That all. Holy crap, you shitheads are pathetic. My training alone takes more effort than this. I swear if you were any more pathetic, I'd have to kill myself in shame. Kenpachi insulted, obviously annoyed to be facing such weak opponents. The others were furious however. No one insults them, but before they could begin another chain of hand seals, Kenpachi leapt into the air, and before he could react, the hawk-masked Anbu was impaled through the heart. Falling back down to the alleyway, Kenpachi sneered before removing his sword from his victim. When he landed, he suddenly leapt to the side, barely dodging some kunai thrown at him, and catching a couple before they flew past. Reacting quickly, he threw the kunai back where they were thrown, both hitting the heads of their respective targets, the heads of the snake and kiwi-masked Anbu with enough force to pierce the masks. Now all that was left were the cat and boar-masked Anbu, along with one Hokage. Deciding to end this, Kenpachi rushed towards the building with the nearest Anbu on it, and punched it. Now this may not seem like much, but when that punch dangerously shook the building, well, that was enough to make the cat-masked Anbu lose control of his chakra, thus making him plummet. Quickly jumping, Kenpachi grabbed the man by his throat and plunged his sword directly through his stomach. 5 down, 2 to go. While Kenpachi had his back turned, the last Anbu rushed behind him, ninja drawn, ready to impale this monster as he dropped the dead opponent. At the last second, Kenpachi turned around, and grabbed the arm, a mere moment away before it could impale him. Twisting the arm roughly, the Anbu flinched in pain, but that distraction was enough for Kenpachi to decapitate him. "Well, you're all that's left, old geezer. Still think you can stop me from getting the kid?" Kenpachi asked. "How could you do this? What have these people ever done to you?" Sarutobi asked, full of fury. I narrowed dangerously. Kenpachi's voice was filled completely with malice as he spoke. "What have they done to me? What has my grandson done to them?" Caught off guard by this maneuver, Sarutobi spoke again. "Why do you referring to him as your grandson? As far as I know, all of Naruto-kun's family is dead." Sarutobi spoke gravely. "You really want to know? Fine. Remember Uzumaki Kushina?" When Sarutobi nodded, Kenpachi continued. "Yeah, I'm her father. Now do you understand?" Kenpachi asked, annoyed. Eyes widening, Sarutobi was unable to respond for a few moments, before he finally regained his composure. "Is there any way that we can perhaps discuss this in my office? I don't want anyone to overhear something important, if what you say is true. Besides, I am still a bit skeptical of your claim," Sarutobi suggested. Thinking it over quickly, Kenpachi finally nodded gruffly, though he did give one final warning. "All right, but if you try something funny, let's just say these deaths will seem merciful," he warned while his now sheathed sword, with his infamous shark-like smile. Gulping, Sarutobi nodded and they left the alleyway, with Kenpachi carrying Naruto, although Sarutobi still kept his guard up. As they were walking down the streets, it was mostly deserted, except for a few shinobi rushing towards the scene of where the battle took place. Stopping in front of the Hokage, some Chunin bowed respectfully. "Hokage-sama, what has happened? We all felt that incredible killing intent not too long ago and we were worried." One of them said, "Do not worry about the situation. It has all been taken care of, but someone has snuck into the village and killed some of our Anbu. Quickly take the bodies away, and be careful. I am sure that whoever has done it has long since fled." Sarutobi lied cleverly. "Hi Hokage-sama." The Chunin bowed before rushing to the scene. "Nice lie," Kenpachi complimented as they continued. "Well, I am the Hokage, and when you've been in politics as long as I have, you tend to learn a few things." Sarutobi replied, with a chuckle despite the serious situation. As they continued to walk, more villagers started to appear and most, if not all of them, glared at Naruto hatefully. One drunken villager threw a knife at Naruto, but Kenpachi quickly caught it, and threw it right back at the attacker, piercing his heart. The other villagers, even Sarutobi, were shocked at this. Some villagers shouted obscenities at Kenpachi, and tried to throw things at him like broken bottles, stones, and kunai. Somehow they completely missed the fact that the Hokage was there. Kenpachi caught some of the things thrown, before throwing them back at the villagers, with some stones breaking bones, and glass bottles shattering on their heads. If that didn't kill them, then the shards that embedded themselves in their heads did. Finally he just had enough. "Will you stop this shit already?" he yelled, unleashing his spiritual pressure. The villagers stopped what they were doing, staring at him in shock, as his spiritual pressure dropped on them like a 2-ton house. "All right, listen up s. I've been in this place for less than an hour, and already you bastards are pissing me off. Keep this shit up, and I'll carve you all up like some damn pigs, understand?" To emphasize, Kenpachi slung Naruto over his shoulder, pulled out his sword and thrust it into the first person he saw. The others were stunned speechless, and finally some villagers started to regain their courage, before Sarutobi spoke up, voice full of fury. "Enough of this. Anbu, arrest these people and take them to Ibiki." Sarutobi shouted, growing infuriated. Suddenly some Anbu who fortunately did not hate Naruto appeared, and started to arrest the protesting crowd. Turning to Kenpachi, Sarutobi frowned before speaking. "I am sorry about this behavior. The villagers tend to get a bit out of hand on this particular day. Although I must ask that you try to refrain from killing them," he said. Kenpachi waved him off, before replying, "Whatever, but try and control them. I tell ya, if my division acted like this, I'd kick their asses so much that their kids, if they had kids, would feel it." Kenpachi replied with a small chuckle. "Division?" Sarutobi asked as they continued their trek to the Hokage Tower. "Explain later," he merely replied, while he was actually angry at himself for slipping off. Sarutobi accepted that, and fortunately there were no more incidents on the way to the Hokage Tower. As they entered, Kenpachi noticed several people glare at Naruto. Getting pissed off with this, Kenpachi sent another burst of killer intent, making several people require a new change of pants. After walking up several steps, they encountered Sarutobi's secretary who let them in with no problem. Sitting behind his desk, Sarutobi leveled a fierce look upon the imposing figure before him after activating a sound barrier around the office. "Now explain," Sarutobi growled out, hoping that would intimidate Kenpachi. He didn't even flinch. Sighing in annoyance, Kenpachi told Sarutobi everything he knew, even about the Gote 13 and several things involving the afterlife in order for things to make sense, otherwise it would just become confusing. "Hey, this is Zaraki Kenpachi. There is no way he is gonna be a coward and hope the old man forgot about what he mentioned about his division." Sarutobi's face went from annoyed, shocked, to pale enough to make a ghost jealous, no pun intended. "You still alive?" Kenpachi asked after a few minutes of silence. Snapping out of his shock, Sarutobi quickly addressed a level gaze at Kenpachi. "How do I know you're telling the truth?" he asked. "Do I look like I give a damn if you believe me or not? Face it, I'm taking the kid out of here, and if you think you can stop me," he grabs his sword's handle, "then go ahead and try." He finished with a shark-like smile. Is that really necessary? Maybe. You can either be an annoying bastard I kill, or you can shut the hell up and pretend you never saw me. He suggested. If I let Naruto-kun go with you, what will happen to him? He asked, concerned for the boy's safety. Well, I'm gonna train him to be a badass just like me. Maybe introduce him to his mother and grandmother. Wait, Kushina-chan is dead, you can't introduce them. Sarutobi told him. Kenpachi just stared, and what do you know, he stared some more. Oh right, Afterlife forgot. Sarutobi murmured, having forgotten about that. Now, as I was saying. Kenpachi growled out, annoyed at being interrupted. I will probably introduce him to his mother and grandmother, train him be better than that moron of a father of his, and overall make him the biggest badass these countries have ever seen. He mentioned with an excited grin. Well, if you do take Naruto, I want you to bring him back when he is 12, that way he can graduate from the Shinobi Academy. Sarutobi told him, hoping Naruto would protect the village, just like his father did. Yeah, well, the old man wants me to bring the kid back anyway, so whatever. Alright, I will allow this, but only if you give me your word that Naruto will be safe and he will return when the other academy students become genin. Sarutobi demanded. I ain't gonna make any promises of him being safe, but he will return when he's 12 like I said. Kenpachi replied, growing more and more annoyed to be wasting his time here. If he won't be safe, I see no reason for him to go with you. Sarutobi growled. Yeah, like he was any safer here. Kenpachi shot back, making Sarutobi flinch. Sarutobi stammered, trying to find an excuse for the villagers' behavior, but after a few attempts, he finally realized that there was no excuse. He then tried to find a reason to let Naruto stay, but again, he couldn't find anything. Finally, he just sighed and leveled a cold look at Kenpachi. Alright, I will allow him to go with you, but you will protect him, understood? He asked, cold stare turning into a glare. Kenpachi merely waved him off before turning to the little blonde boy finally regaining consciousness. When he finally awoke, he looked at Sarutobi and the odd man curiously, before greeting them. Hey old man, who's the weird guy? He asked, while ignoring Kenpachi's eye twitch. Well, Naruto-kun, this man is Zaraki Kenpachi, and he would like to take you away on a training trip. Sarutobi told him, careful to observe Naruto's reaction, not knowing that Kenpachi was doing the same. Confused by this, Naruto could only look at the giant in curiosity, before asking the first thing to come to mind. Why would he want to train me? No one has ever wanted to help me with something before. He asked with sadness. Sarutobi felt a pang in his heart, and Kenpachi just glared at the Sandaime. Look kid, as your grandfather, it's my job to help you. I'm not exactly happy about it, but considering how you're being treated in this shithole, Sarutobi glares at him for swearing in front of a child, I have to make sure you're at least somewhat strong to show these shitheads not to screw with you. He told him, only to look surprised as the boy was gaping. Gee grandfather, but the old man said my family was dead. He shouted. Sarutobi looked sad as he answered the boy's unasked question. To tell you the truth Naruto-kun, I thought so too, but it appears as though I was wrong. Wait, if you're my grandfather, how come you never came for me? Naruto asked while glaring, well at least as much a child could glare, which isn't very impressive. Kenpachi released his own glare, making Naruto shrink in fear, as he answered, because I didn't even know I had a grandson until 2 years ago, and it took me that long to get here. I would have been here sooner, but, let's just say a hidden village pissed off the wrong guy, and another old man was far from pleased with how I handled the situation. He actually didn't look ashamed, instead it looked as though he was proud. But seriously, that was one busy night, especially when he had to send the souls to the other side. Speaking of which, wasn't he supposed to do something? Wait a second, didn't he need to? Oh crap, I need to finish that job real quick. You, old guy, watch over the kid for a few minutes, I'll be back. With that Kenpachi quickly ran out of the room leaving behind a couple of confused people, and as he popped a piece of soul candy in his mouth he started thinking. I swear I hate this part, oh well maybe a hollow or a dozen will show up. And with that Kenpachi, now without a Gigai, ran off to where he killed everyone, in order to send the spirits to either heaven or hell. About 5 minutes later, shit, that took longer than expected. Kenpachi muttered as he entered. The confused little boy immediately turned his attention to the giant, while the Hokage was merely glad Naruto was no longer asking questions. Kenpachi immediately noticed that there were some scrolls on the Hokage's desk that were most certainly not there before. "Where were you?" he asked innocently. Well, I got a job earlier to escort a couple of people to their new home." Kenpachi mentally berated himself for being such a bad liar. Well, technically he wasn't lying. "Oh, okay, but can I ask you something?" Naruto asked, completely believing it. Kenpachi shrugged and said, "What the hell? Go ahead." "Well, do you know who my parents are? If you're my grandfather, you should know who my parents are, right?" Naruto asked eagerly, looking excited at the idea. "Yeah, why you ask? Didn't the old geezer tell you who they were?" he asked. Naruto looked sad at this, and replied, "No, he never told me, except that they are dead." "But can you tell me about them?" he asked, looking hopeful once more, whilst not noticing Kenpachi shoot another glare at the Sandaime for not telling Naruto who his mother was. "Yeah, your mother's name was Uzumaki Kushina, my daughter apparently. As for your father, well, I'll tell ya, when you're older," he told him, then noticed the crestfallen appearance of the boy. Yeah, he was disappointed, but don't get him wrong, he was ecstatic to discover his mother's name, but he still very much wanted to know about his father. Deciding to intervene before Naruto could become more disappointed, Sarutobi spoke up. "Naruto-kun, before you get upset, just know that I have no doubt your father was a wonderful man. I may not know who he is, but I am sure you would be proud of him." It hurt Sarutobi to have to lie to him, but he felt it was best, especially considering how much was going on today. Kenpachi snorted when he heard that, and he rolled his only visible eye, whilst Naruto just looked happy that someone thought that his father, whoever he was a great person. "What's with the scrolls?" Kenpachi suddenly asked, getting annoyed that no one mentioned them. "Oh, these, well, I want you to take them and teach them to Naruto as you travel. They teach numerous subjects such as explaining what chakra is, how to control it, and a few techniques that could help him." Sarutobi informed him. "Are you kidding? Just give the kid a sword and teach him how to use it, and he'll be tough enough to fight anyone," Kenpachi told him, while scoffing at the thought of shinobi techniques, while Naruto was salivating. "While that may be true, it can never hurt to be prepared," Sarutobi said in a voice that clearly ended the argument. Kenpachi looked like he wanted to argue more, but decided against it. It was obvious the old man was adamant about this. Turning back to Naruto, who was looking at the scroll in glee, Kenpachi spoke up. "All right, kid, we've wasted enough time with all of this damn chatter. You're going on a training trip with me whether you want it or not, understand?" Kenpachi asked, looking down at him. "Wait, will I at least get to come back and be a shinobi?" Naruto asked, trying to adjust with the whole situation. Grunt, why do people constantly ask about this, but yeah, whatever, and don't worry about the old guy here. He was more than happy to let you come with me, Kenpachi said, while slowly moving his hand to his sword, giving Sarutobi a pretty clear message. As for Naruto, he was once again ecstatic. Finally, after so long of people hating him, there was someone other than the old man who wanted to help him, and this man was his grandfather as well. This had to be the greatest day of his life. "All right, when do we leave?" Naruto asked eagerly. "Simple, right now," and with that, Kenpachi picked up the visibly surprised blonde, and walked out of the door. "Wait," Sarutobi leapt from his seat, but as soon as he left the room, he noticed that Kenpachi had already left. Hey, Zaraki is fast when he has incentive. He was currently unaware of how in a few minutes, they would both be gone from Konoha. A few minutes later, dropping the nauseous boy on the ground, Kenpachi turned his attention back to the village. All right, the first step was done. Now to work on step 2. Last time he visited the Saraiti, Retsu managed to get Kenpachi to consider a step-by-step plan of things, in order to make things easier for him. He didn't really want to, but the look in his wife's eyes made him reconsider. Hey, she's scary when mad in even the smallest way. He was originally just going to barge in, rescue the kid, and kick the ass of everyone who got in the way. Now, thanks to Retsu, the plan was as follows. Step 1. Save grandson from annoying village, check. Step 2. Turn grandson into major badass, in progress. Step 3. Return grandson to annoying village later. Hey, it may not have been a very good step-by-step plan, but it was simple and easy to remember, and quite frankly that's good enough. Turning back to the boy who was now looking less likely to throw up, Kenpachi spoke up. Alright kid, pull yourself together, it's getting annoying. Finally able to stand properly, Naruto looked excited, as he started talking rapidly. That was so cool, am I gonna be able to be that fast? Can we do that again? Will you teach me how to use a sword? And he just kept talking. And talking. And talking some more. Finally Kenpachi just had enough. Shut up, he yelled, flaring his killing intent. Naruto stopped talking immediately, and looked terrified, as the killing intent pressed down on him, only this was far more powerful than what the villagers and a few shinobi threw at him. Calming down, Kenpachi reined in his killing intent, and looked at his young companion, who looked like he was scared more than any other time in his life. Calm down kid, it was nothing. I can tell you now though that you're gonna have to get used to it, cause you'll be experiencing it a lot, understand? He asked, his one eye boring into Naruto. Why yeah, he squeaked. Good, now let's go, I don't wanna have to spend all night here. Kenpachi told him while walking off in a random direction. Hey wait, Naruto yelled, running to catch up to him. Keep up kid, I ain't gonna slow down for ya, he said. Naruto nodded then asked a question. Hey, do you know where we are going? He asked. Kenpachi stopped for a moment to think on that. Well there's Suna, no the kid's too weak to handle it. Iwa, again, kid's too weak. Can't go to Kumo either, even though he does want to climb those mountains. Aw crap, Kenpachi thought, as he just realized that no place was good to start with the kid's training. Well, we're going that way, Kenpachi said, pointing off in a random direction, hoping it would lead to a good place to train. Okay, Naruto yelled excitedly, following after the giant. And so the journey begins, for Zaraki Kenpachi and his grandson, the Kyuubi Jinchuriki. Numerous people suddenly felt a chill go down their spines. The end. Now we will see you in the next video.